Hi, we're back for our next video, and this video is going to be on creating a static mesh, bringing it into Maya, cleaning up some things, even adding a touch of UVs, cleaning up the UVs. The focus of this is going to be on most of my tutorials when it comes to level design are about prototyping, maximizing your gameplay, getting the gameplay in place, making your level look good without being an artist, how to use Unreal with brushes, turn into static mesh, how to avoid UVing, which I avoid at all costs, except for the rare occasion. So there's two rare occasions we're going to do here in this series on level design. So currently we're covering building the slime level, which is this image here. So we've needed to recreate this slime river level, which is based on Ghostbusters 2 concept work I found. We build it out, we try and add as many details as possible while still being a level designer and not an environment artist. Yes, we are going to create some details and props. You judge how much you should add. When it comes to creating a prototype, and if you have a full development team around you, you do have them replace the art, your blockout with art. So sometimes putting too many details can be a waste of time. I am formerly an environment artist and have done lots of art from 3D to 2D to all kinds of stuff. So I like to put more art in it because it keeps my imagination going. I envision more detailed gameplay. I envision better walkthroughs, better player path. So that's the reasoning for me, as well as being an independent developer, I need to put as many details as possible in it at every phase so that if I show it to people, they are excited by it. They're not just seeing a bunch of spheres, cylinders, and cubes. I do minimize the textures I use. I try and use gray and rely on the lighting, but there's times where I pick and choose to add unique textures and UV it, etc. So that's what we're going to go over today. So from that level, actually let's go back to this. The detail we're picking are these bottles here. And I put them in the corner, which we can't see back here. Eventually I will put them over here. But we're focusing on these bottles, and I'm going to use them as part of my gameplay later. I'm going to have them be clues that the player picks up and looks at and examines and learns something about the mission and the level itself. So here's my bottles, and as you can see they have a little label on them, an old school Dr. Pepper. And I had to go into Maya to clean this up, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to build it from a brush, turn into static mesh, and clean it up in Maya. So to start, we start with a brush, a cylinder brush. Drag it in. Oh, there's checkerboards. So let's go find our default material. Materials, gray neutral. Drag it in. Generic gray is on it. Let's get to our details here. Let's make it 16-sided. Let us make the scale much smaller to fit a soda size. And it's not going to scale anymore, so let's go to 3.03. Alright, let's test the scale of it in general. So I'm looking at the hand. If I grabbed it, looks like a big wine bottle or a liter of liquor. It might fit more like a beer bottle. These are more like wine bottles. These are huge soda bottles. But you know what? I'm just going to leave them a little bit large for now. I put a soda label on. They probably should be more like a wine or a liquor label now that you look at them. But if I get much smaller, they're going to be super tiny. So I think it's fine for now. As the player just comes up, walks up to it, and then we're going to do a little IGC later. Not in this video, another video. So this generally looks pretty good. The other thing is if it gets too small when we manipulate it, I might want to scale it later. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger now so if we select faces and everything, it's not as hard. So back to this. Let's scale it back to 0.5. Whoops, that's way too small. 0.2. Alright, that's good. 0.2. And the reason for that is it's going to be easier to manipulate. Alright, so let's just get the general proportion in place. Bottle shape looks a little too tall for when the neck starts up. Just a little skinnier. Alright, so now we're going to go into our geometry editing. So with my brush selected, click on geometry editing. I'm going to select this face. And I'm going to hit the move tool, and I'm going to go to extrude, and I'm going to pull it up and extrude it. So there's an extrusion, and I'm going to stay simple. So this is the top of the bottle that's starting to curve inwards, if that's the proper term. Whoa! Just created another. Let's get out of extrude mode. Go back to just basic face mode. Just not seeming to select. And I think it is selecting it. No, it's not. Why you're not selecting that face? There we go. Wow. I'm not sure what's going on there. So let's just create a general bottle shape. And maybe just a little bit skinnier, and then we're going to extrude again. Go to extrude, move, get out of extrude mode. And that is generally the scale I want to see. That's pretty much a bottle. This could be a little bit scaled down, but I think it's fine for now. Alright, we're done with that, the general shape of our bottle. The next thing we want to do is make sure there's a texture applied to the whole thing, which we could go through and select all the faces and apply it, which is no go, no thank you. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to break out the faces here to select a new material. So I'm going to grab this one. So this will be the cover or the label of my soda, beer, wine bottle. And let's apply a new material to it. Go to my materials and we'll put it as soda, which if we double click on it, all this is a super simple material setup. If we start with nothing, you don't even need this specular roughness. You could just get rid of these if you wanted. From the base color, you pull this off and create a texture sample. This texture sample has a texture, which is a downloaded old school Dr. Pepper JPEG I found on the internet. Nothing special. And then this texture coordinate, which we connect to the texture sample, is nothing more than how it UV tiles. So if it's tiling all over the place, there's like 27 of these, you can edit this to, you know, tile twice across, twice up, 3 times down, whatever you want to do. So that's all you need is these 2 nodes and applying your texture inside this node to create a texture. Very simple. So with this selected, and it doesn't say assign material. Did it work? There we go. So as you can see, my UVs are all over the place, which is fine because we're going to go into Maya. And there's no way for me, once I convert this to static mesh, to UV it easily. So at this point, I'm just going to convert it to static mesh. So all I want to do is break out the labels when I export it to Maya. We already have that broken out. Alright, so let's go back to this and create static mesh. And let's put it in the appropriate folder, name it correctly, static mesh folder, sm_soda test. Create static mesh. Alright, so for one thing, it's huge. So let's get it scaled properly so that when it goes into Maya, it's going to be a proper scale. So let's put this on the ground. Hit play. Thinking about my hand grabbing it. Yep, that'll work. Looks more like a liquor bottle. I really need to get the shape. This one looks more like a soda bottle. So you need to reflect this one a little bit more of a soda bottle. Has more of a broad. Maybe I could just fix that in Maya real quick. Alright, so let's, this is now selected as an edit mesh. Now let's go to File, Export Selected. And let's go to my Unreal folder, static meshes. We'll call it soda bottle test. T-E-S-T, test. Alright, now we need to get into Mr. Maya, or Mrs. Maya. So we open up Maya. Start a new level, and this is my finished one. Then we go File, Import. It's already defaulting to my static meshes for Unreal. Soda bottle test, FBX, import, and all these checkboxes are fine. Import. If I zoom out, we're going to see one mistake that a lot of us can make. My bottle's way over here. That's because in Unreal it was not at 0, 0, 0. So if you're planning on bringing it into Maya and you're worried about getting lost and you can't find your outliner, obviously if you open your outliner you'll be fine. You'll be able to click on it and hit F. But some people get lost in Maya more so than Unreal. You can zoom out and just see the massive gray. So what I need to do is select this guy and get him to 0, 0, 0. Hit F. I make lots of mistakes with Maya because I use Unreal so much. Let's move him out of the way of my finished guy. And there I go again, right clicking. Make sure I use my Alt to rotate. If you don't know how to use Maya, you're going to have to take another class to do that, but this is the super basics. As you can see, my black is my label texture, and then this gray, the default neutral gray texture, which just does not even have a texture. It's just a creation and a material creation of basic color in Unreal. So let's get this to look more like this. Let's move this over. First and foremost, let's go over here and select my faces. Right click, go to face. Now let's select all the faces. Some of my functions in Maya probably are quicker. I'm out of touch with Maya over the last couple of years, which is okay. If I look primitive and slow, it's because I spent almost all my time in Unreal now. So let's select those two, or three, and apply an existing material. Let's make sure it's M Soda, oh, they must have renamed it M Soda 1. So make sure it's M Soda 1. Now if we go up here to M Soda 1, so in the attribute editor you should see this gray neutral 1 is the one with no texture from Unreal. M Soda 1 is the one that came over and will have this texture because we already applied it in Unreal. It brings it over. So we need to go over here. So if you see color, it actually takes the texture off. It did not import it. So it's still named properly, which is good. We know what it is. So we go to color and click on this box here. It's going to ask us what kind of material do you want to create. And what I want to do is create a file. Click on File. And as you can see, the file folder is now here, but the image name is needed. That's where we find our texture. And our texture, of course, is called Soda Label. Click on it, open it, and voila, look at that. Oh, it applied everywhere. Did it do that? Thought I only selected a few. Alright, well, let's fix that. Let's make the only apply here, so that looks like what I want my label to be on. So let's go to invert selection. That's easier to see. Okay, that looks about right. Invert selection. Gray neutral 1. And let's apply gray neutral 1 to it. Now let's make sure gray neutral 1 also has a file. Click on the folder, and let's just do a gray neutral JPEG to it. Open. And if we go back to texture mode, ta-da! So now I've got a label where it should be, and the rest just being gray neutral. Well, this is a super light one. I probably should do a darker one like this, but it's fine for now. Separate these two so they look a little different. Alright, so now let's UV our label quickly. So let's just grab these, which selecting in Maya is much better than Unreal. Go back to our wireframe to make sure we can see it. And it's missing this one. Simple enough. Now let's create a quick UVs for it. Let us create a cylinder mapping, since it's that label's about half a cylinder there. Cylindrical mapping. And let's switch it so we can see. There we go. Wrong one. Can see our texture. So now we can see this, how it's rotating, how it fits on the bottle. So it looks like it's centered pretty well. So what we need to do is it this one we select? We scroll this out, is it going to scroll for me? Oh, I got to go that way. There we go. So we can manually grab this gizmo handle and put it to the edge so the white's on the edge. That looks pretty darn good. Wow, that was simple. You can also manually adjust it here. So when you put it on here, you're going to see projection attributes. So by messing with this back and forth, it's going to do just exactly what I did. Projection height will affect the height, and the height seems perfect right now. Projection center, I can move the center up, down, left, right. Rotate it, I can rotate it around, and you can do this by selecting all these different gizmo handles. I believe some people call it a manipulator as well, but I've always called it a gizmo. So this device that helps you do the UVs is the gizmo. So adjust it so it fits on here. You can also do planar mapping, spherical mapping. Just click on them. They're not going to create multiple UVs. You just click on them and see what they create by default. Automatic mapping sometimes works well, especially something with, something that's just flat like a plane. It'll just do it perfectly. Never know, you should start with that one and you could be surprised. And that's pretty much it. Now my bottle looks better. I have a label. And again, I'm going to extreme lengths here. Think about your prototype looking good for clients. Think about it looking good for your portfolio. Think about your level, having clarity. In another tutorial, I'm going to do a little IGC where the player picks that bottle up, looks at it, thinks about it, has some comments about it. So if he's looking at a gray blobby mass, that IGC is a little bit worthless. You really need to have some detail there. And again, I still highly recommend you stay away from UVing, except for, you know, a few tiny circumstances. So that's done with our UVing, except for, let's do another invert selection. And let's apply a simple create UV cylindrical mapping to that one. And because it's just generic gray and we don't care, I think it's fine. It's going to just clean up your UV so they don't overlap and look weird for your lighting map in Unreal. Because when you import it over, Unreal has a checkbox that'll create its own UV lights, UV set for your lighting, and you need to do that. So if you don't clean up the gray, even though it doesn't need to be tiled or UV'd properly, there'll be some UV hiccups and your lighting won't look right. You may have a black spot here and there because the UVs are weird. So just clean up that area real quick. And the last step we're going to do is, let's off click this and go to object mode and look at it. So now we can see all the little planes and facets and edges here since we started with the cylinder. So let's do this next. Let's smooth it out. We're going to go into edge mode. And again, right click, edge mode. If you accidentally hit something, because right clicking you do a lot in different programs in Unreal, and suddenly you find your object looking weird, it's more than likely you just hit one of these strange things and you're like, ah, what just happened? Just right click it again and go to object mode. And you'll return it. So go right click, edge mode. And what I want to do is select all my edges. And I'm going to go to normals. And there's no smoothing groups like there are in 3D Max. How you smooth things in Maya is through the edges, which I don't like at all. It's way more easy to do it. Way easier to do it in 3D Max with multiple groups, and you can tell how they all interact together. So right now I'm going to do is set a normal angle. So depending on the angle of the edge that intersects the other edge, it'll smooth it or make it hard. I'm going to do just 45 degrees. If I was to do only 90 degrees, which is what you see at the top of the bottle or the bottom of the bottle, that would work as well. So we could just do 90 degrees, apply and close. So now you can see the lighting, how much smoother it is. And the top, this edge here from the top of the bottle overlapping over has a hard edge. The bottom, from the side to the bottom, has a hard edge. That's really all we need in this bottle. If we're going to take it one step farther, we could do this. And this will be very subtle. You probably want to do an extrusion instead, but little things like this do help. If you select this edge, basically select all the edges. And again, I'm very deliberate and slow with. So basically I just selected the edges around the label. I don't need to select the bottom because they're at 90 degrees and they'll be hard anyway. I'm going to make these edges hard so it makes the label stand out a little bit. So we go up here to normals, harden edge. And when we go into, it'll be subtle, but you'll see it in, let's go into object mode. So you can see it a little bit here, and you can see a little bit here, the contrast. It's pretty subtle, something you can do for different parts of your bottle, or you need to fix, like, you know, why is there a big black line here? You can grab an edge and make sure it's softened up here. Alright, that's pretty much it for your fixing of the bottle. If we were to scale this a little bit more. So I right-clicked and went into vertex mode, and I grabbed all the vertices on the bottle because I think it's more of a liquor bottle shape. Same shortcuts as Unreal, R for scale. Now I can just do this. A little bit better. Looks more like a soda bottle. Alright, that's fixed. Alright, so now let's go back to object mode. Grab our object, get it to 0, 0, 0. Go to the translation, 0, 0, 0. And the pivot point's in the middle, so that's fine. I don't care. It could be at the bottom if we want to make it a bouncy object. Mess with the pivot that way, but this is fine. So now the next thing we have to do, it's all set, it's scaled. We need to make sure we delete the history and freeze the transforms. This is very important. So with the object selected, go to Modify at the top here. Modify. Freeze transforms. This now resets it that this is its original scale, this is its original spot, it's at 0, 0, 0. And the other thing we want to do is go to Edit, Delete by Type. There it is. I'm looking right at it, missing it. Delete by Type, History. This gets rid of your whole history for the modification of your bottle, which you absolutely need to do. Or when you import it into Unreal, you're going to get all kinds of objects grouped together, and the object's not going to work properly in Unreal. So you have to do that. You have to freeze transforms, and you have to delete history on that object. So now we're done. And now we just got to export it out to be an FBX. So with it selected, go to File, Export Selection. And on this point, we select our folder, which is already there. And I want mine to be soda bottle test, which we're going to overwrite the old one. Just because I'm not going to do this again. I already have a soda bottle. Soda bottle test. Export selection. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to put finished on it, in case I use this in one of my classes. Export selection. So I'm keeping my smoothing groups. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. Don't need to do this. Reference options. Pretty much the defaults is what I've always used. I really have not had to do anything else. Export selection. Alright, that's it in Maya. Back to Unreal. So here's our original bottle. And the weird thing is there's a bug. I don't know if it's my machine or with Unreal, but if I do File, Import, I do not, and I select, I do File, Import, I find, changes to all files. It's not looking for an FBX. I find my soda bottle test finished. If I click on this, it does this. So I'm like, what? And I'm really not sure what's going on. It doesn't bring up my, it makes everything black. I can't actually see my object, so I don't know what's going on with this. This just popped up recently. So what I'm doing is dragging and dropping it into my file. So I'm going to reopen my map. And I'm going to drag it and drop it in here. And I'm not sure why that bug is happening. So if I go into my browser, I see soda bottle test finished. Drag and drop it in here. Oops, I have to drag and drop it. No, not that folder. Let's get it to my static mesh folder. There's my static mesh folder. Drag it and drop it in here. And just keep all the defaults for the most part. Make sure it says auto-generate collision. Sure, you can always change that. Import materials is important. Import textures is important. Normal maps we don't have. Where's the one that creates a light map? There's something in here that creates a light map. Probably looking right at it. I don't see it. And of course I don't see it. Generate light map UVs. There we go. Make sure that's checked. Okay, import all. Now it's imported, and it unfortunately drags my texture and my materials attached to it into the same folder, but that's okay. So soda bottle test finished. Drag it into my world. Zoom in. Hit play. Lighting needs to be rebuilt. Yes, it does. That looks pretty darn good. And even when I zoom in from IGC later, which I will put in another video, it's going to look like a soda bottle. As you notice, the lighting's decently done. Let's build our lighting. So you got me importing an object like that and the level turning black and freaking out is very weird. I'm not sure what's going on there. That just happened as I was figuring out this tutorial. I hadn't imported FBX in a while, so I'm not sure what's happening with that. SM soda bottle has wrapping UVs. That's because I still have the old one in here. It hasn't been cleaned up in Maya. And the lighting looks good, very smooth. Can you even see the hard edge on the label? Not really. So that little detail is probably unnecessary. You really probably have to create an extrude for the whole label. See that detail, which would be good in the IGC when I do it later. But on the ground, you'll never notice it. So let's delete this original guy. Don't need him in here. He looks terrible. And let's create let's set it up like it was set up. Now I'm doing some staging here. Staging. Copy paste. New word. Staging. What's that come from? Making movies, making plays, making the area look real, making it look interesting. Don't just place your bottles anywhere. What if we put one here and the snap is too big, so I'm going to turn that off. What if I lean it here, make sure it's on the ground. It's a little bit in the ground, but you probably can't see it because it's too small. Couple more. You don't want all the labels facing the same way. That almost never happens unless it's on store shelves. And let's put a couple on the floor. Put our snap back on since we want it to lay on the floor. And where's our concept image? There's our bottles. So I need a box, cardboard box next, which maybe I'll make, maybe not. I don't want to do that much UV in cardboard box. I would just make that brown, and I wouldn't even use a texture for that one, and then place the bottles inside. Alright, let's just run by it and see how it looks. I gotta be careful not to hit my IGC over here. So over here we're gonna jump. There's an IGC over here by my newspaper. I don't want to click on. Ta-da! Looks pretty good. You know, and those little labels add color, make you want to come over and look at them like, hey, what's that? But at the same time, I don't need them to be fully colored in crazy textures. It'll distract too much for the level. Nice detail. Alright, that's my lesson for today. Adding simple textures, when to add them, cleaning up in Maya, softening and hardening your edges. Bye-bye.